Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Rotko-Wynn, Chief Business Enterprise Officer with Alfred Group. It is great to be with you again this year, and I'm so pleased to share some key takeaways from the Giving USA 2022 Annual Report on Philanthropy. This report reflects total philanthropic giving in 2021 and provides an overview of the sources of giving and the recipients by sectors. Giving USA is the oldest and most comprehensive report on charitable giving in the United States, started by the American Association of Fundraising Council in 1956, which is now the Giving Institute. This report is published by the Giving USA Foundation, which is part of the Giving Institute, comprised of national firms such as Alfred Group. Our consultancy has been a member of the Institute and a significant donor to the research that is reflected in this report for over 30 years. The report is researched and written by the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy, and it is made possible by contributions from the Giving Institute member firms, foundations, and other donors. So, the headline we have all been waiting for. Total estimated charitable giving in the United States reached $484.85 billion in charitable giving in the United States. Wow. This is the highest dollar amount ever and a 4% increase in current dollars over 2020. We must note, however, that if you adjust for inflation, giving remained relatively flat, with a change of -7% if we adjust it for inflation. So here are the highlights of the 2021 sources of contributions. This is always my favorite slide every year. And I notice that every year that piece of the pie that comes from individuals gets bigger and bigger. Giving by individuals totaled an estimated $326.87 billion. Rising 4.9% in 2021, and it comprised 67% of total giving in 2021. Giving by foundations, which includes grants made by independent, community, and operating foundations, grew 3.4% to an estimated $90.88 billion in 2021, and amounted to 19% of all gifts made in 21. Approximately half of this comes from individuals and families. It's important to note. And of course, giving by bequest, also by individuals, totaled an estimated $46.01 billion in 2021, declining by 7.3% over 2020. I always like to point out the impact of bequests from smaller estates, because oftentimes we assume that these are coming from very large estates. So it's important to note that in 2021, it's estimated that bequest giving from estates with assets below $1 million amounted to $13.71 billion of this number. And finally, giving by corporations is estimated to have increased by almost 24%, 23.8%. in 2021, totaling $21.08 billion, and this represents 4% of all giving. Corporate giving includes cash and in-kind contributions made through corporate giving programs, as well as grants and gifts made by corporate foundations. In 2021, the U.S. gross domestic product, GDP, grew 10.1% over 2020, and corporate pre-tax profits increased an astonishing 37.4% in current dollars. Both of these economic indicators are closely linked to corporate giving. And now, how are these dollars distributed? Well, religious organizations continue to receive the largest share of charitable dollars and received nearly $136 billion, or 27% of total giving. This sector, however, has been declining as a share of total giving, which has been about half of the pie since I started really following this data over 20 years ago. In 2021, the education subsector comprised the second largest portion of charitable dollars, receiving nearly $71 billion, or 14% of total gifts. Next, human services organizations ranked third, with $65 billion, or 13% of all charitable dollars, and gifts to grant-making foundations, which includes independent, community, and operating foundations, comprised the fourth largest share of the pie in 2021, amounting to 13% of total giving. Comprising the fifth largest portion of charitable dollars, public society benefit organizations received 11% of all giving, and the health sector ranked sixth in total gifts at 8% of charitable dollars in 2021. International affairs subsector ranked seventh in total gifts received, amounting to 5% of charitable dollars in 2021. It's interesting to note that this was not tracked as a subsector until 1987. And then arts, culture, and humanities received the eighth largest portion of charitable dollars at 5% of giving. Environment and animals received 3% of total gifts. And finally, gifts made directly to individuals accounted for 2% of total giving in 2021, totaling nearly $12 billion. It's interesting to note that the IRS annually reports the number of charitable organizations registered under the Section 501c3 of the IRS Code. In 2020, the number of charitable organizations totaled 1.4 million, a 2.8% increase over the previous year. One last graph to share today, and this graph shows how giving to recipient organizations has changed or remained steady over the last 2 years, which is always interesting to see it in this context. And this is in current dollars. It's interesting to note that some big swings, such as a slight decline in education in 2021, compared to significant growth in 2020. Also, the arts showed a big increase in 2021 compared to the decline in 2020 as a result of organizations being able to come back and start to open up in performances again. And it's interesting how these sectors reflect our economic times and certainly the impact that was due to the pandemic. For instance, arts and culture suffered significantly during the pandemic, and as the economy opened up, arts and culture improved. Also, health scaled way back in 2020 and saw a recovery in 2021. And finally, giving to foundations is strongly linked to financial markets. So that is all for today. I want to thank you so much and encourage you to please sign up for our webinar that's scheduled for Wednesday, June 29th. If you're looking for a deeper dive into this data and what it means for your organization and the philanthropic space moving forward. We have a fantastic panel who will be joining us, and we hope to see you there. Thank you so much.